Hello, good afternoon, everyone. How do you do today? Welcome back to biology class. Trust you're fine. So, the last class we had, we talked about nutrition. We talked about plant nutrition, where we define nutrition as a process whereby you obtain food and utilize them for energy, for growth, and maintenance of life. All right, we talked about plant nutrition, talking about photosynthesis, chemosynthesis, mineral requirement. We talked about macronutrients, macro elements, micro elements. We talked about their deficiency symptoms in plants. All right, and we looked into we solved different past questions together. Okay, so today we are going to animal nutrition. We are going to animal nutrition. So we are still on nutrition, but today we are going into animal nutrition. So when you hear of animal nutrition, what comes to your mind? All right. So just a recap of the definition of nutrition, just as I defined it, that it's a process whereby you obtain food, you utilize the food to for energy, for growth and sustenance and maintenance of life. So animal nutrition, don't forget, even human being will belong to that category. So it is the food you eat that energy. All right. So it is the food you eat that gives you energy. If you don't eat well, you don't feed yourself, you don't feed on good food, you don't eat for days, you'll be so weak. You'll be very weak. So which means that food gives us life. Food is life. All right. Nutrition is life. Okay. So what are the when we talk about nutrition, animal nutrition, what comes to your mind? What are the things that we feed on? What do we regard as nutrition? How does animal nutrition occurs? What are the processes? What are the processes? How do we classify animal nutrition? So that is what we are looking into today. Okay, so if you eat food, all right, what are those kind of food that you feed on? What are those kind of food that you give your animals? What are those kind of food that your animals feed on? All right, then what are the reactions of this food in our body? What are the functions of this food in our body? What kind of meal are we to take? All right, what kind of meal are we to take? So these are the things we are looking into today. All right. So talking about animal nutrition, we cannot so we talking about classes of food is inevitable in animal nutrition because just like I explained earlier, we have different food that we feed on. So that is what we are looking into. All right. So we are going into we are starting with classes of food. Classes of food. Okay, so we have different classes of food. We have different classes of food. So I'm going to be showing us a chart now, telling us the different classes of food and their functions, their examples. So I am going to be presenting that now for you to have um, a an idea of the classes of food that we have. All right. So if you can, I don't know if you can see this clearly. This is not so clear. Okay. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to be talking about it one after the other. We're going to be talking about it one after the other. So just like I believe you have the idea of the classes of food that we have. All right. So number one, we have what we call carbohydrates. So I'm going to be using tabular form for better understanding. Okay. So we have what we call carbohydrates. 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 One, carbohydrates. What are the food under carbohydrates? Is I want this class to be interactive. Okay. I want this class to be interactive. So what you can give me examples of carbohydrates using the chat box. So as I'm seeing it in the chat box, I'll be writing it on the board. So let's start. The carbohydrate food that we have. All right. Okay, we have rice. We have rice. We have yam. We have maize. We have cassava, etc. We have some other um carbohydrate food. All right. So we also have what we call protein. We have proteins. All these are fish, meat, eggs, beans, milk. I don't want us to spend more time on all this because we still have a long way to go. All right. So we have fat and oil. We have fat and oil, and those ones under that we have our butter, we have our palm oil, we have coconuts. Don't forget you get coconut oil from coconuts, okay? We have carrots as well. We have carrots, we have milk, etc. Okay, so we also have vitamins. And what are the examples of vitamin? Examples of vitamin. You have your tomatoes, you have your carrots, you have your eggs, you have your green vegetable, you have your green vegetable, etc. Okay, so then we have minerals. Under minerals, what are the example? You have your salt, you have your iodized salt, you have your spinach, you have your cheese. These are examples of minerals. Then underwater, you have your cucumber, you have your watermelon. Okay, you have your watermelon, you have beverages. All right. So all these are classes of food that we have. So wherever you're watching us from on YouTube, please don't forget to like, comment, and share and subscribe. Click on the subscribe button and subscribe to this channel. Okay. If you have any question, drop your question using the chat box and it will be attended to. All right. So these are the classes of food that we have and the sources where we can get them from. Okay, the sources where we can get them. So talking about these classes of food, we have different functions of these classes of food. For instance, the carbohydrate. What does the carbohydrate do? I am not going to rush this class, but then try as much as possible to jot. Okay, so carbohydrate. What is the function of carbohydrate? Carbohydrate gives us energy. All right, it gives us energy for daily activities. In fact, there are some people they would, should I say, among themselves, they'll be like, "Oh, Omo, I had a bad this morning." Why are they emphasizing it? Because they know that that eba is going to give them energy. Do you get? So carbohydrates generally gives carbohydrate food generally it gives energy. All right, so it gives energy for your day-to-day activities. Okay, so if you don't have carbohydrates in your food, that is the deficiency. If carbohydrates is low in your food intake, okay, so it can cause a fatigue. It can cause fatigue, leads to weight loss, leads to weakness. Yes, so if you don't eat carbohydrate food, it can lead to weakness, fatigue, weight loss. All right, so we are done with carbohydrates. So we move to protein. What is the function of protein? What are the functions of protein? Protein is very essential for body growth. All right, so and it repairs the body tissue and help in production of enzymes. So it is very good to eat protein. That's why it is not advisable that you just feed on carbohydrates alone. All right, we are still going into balanced diet. So talking about protein, you know, it helps to repair the body tissue. It helps growth. Okay, it helps the body growth. So if a child is not feeding on the right proportion of protein, if a child is not feeding on the right proportion of protein, the kind of child is likely to have what we call kwashiorkor, all these small babies. I don't know if you've come across a situation whereby the baby's head is big, the tummy is very big, the hands and legs are thin, very thin. Okay, so that is kwashiorkor. That means the baby is lacking protein. The baby is lacking right proportion of protein. So protein is very essential in our meals. It's very essential in whatever we feed on. Okay, so that is protein. So what is the deficiency of protein? Just like I explained now, it causes a stunted growth in humans. All right, so it reduces your body growth and it does not helps the body to grow well. So that is the deficiency of protein if protein is lacking in your food. Okay, so we move to fat and oil. What is the function of fat and oil? Fat and oil also provides energy. Fat and oil also provides energy and it supports cell function. Imagine you eating soup that does not have oil. How do you think the soup will taste? To give you an awkward taste. So palm oil, or let me say fat and oil generally, is very essential. So it also adds to our energy. It also provides energy. Okay, so and it supports your cell functions. So if you don't have fat and oil in your food, even your whole body system will not feel right. Your whole body system will not feel okay. You won't feel good in your body system. So it helps and builds the cell. So it helps in cell functioning. All right. So we move to vitamins. We move to vitamins. All right. So for those that probably does not feed on fat and oil, or they are not having the right proportion of fat and oil in their meal, what can it cause? It can cause a dry skin from the word fat and oil. So if oil is lacking in your food, it can cause dry skin. All right, so it causes dry skin, it causes body weakness, it causes body weakness. So that is the deficiency of fat and oil. All right, so we move to vitamins. What are the function? What is the importance of vitamins? Vitamins is very essential for human growth. It's very essential for your growth. Vitamin is very essential. All right, so it helps in various body functions. It helps in various body functions. In fact, it helps in immune it helps in immunity. It helps in immunity. It helps to build your body immunity. Okay, so the vision, the bone formation. We have different types of vitamin. We have vitamin A, vitamin K, vitamin D, vitamin E. Vitamin C. Different types of vitamins. So all these vitamins are very essential for the body growth. They have their own functions. All right, so it is very essential. If um your body is lacking vitamins, it can cause scurvy. What we call scurvy. There's something we call scurvy. Scurvy. It can cause scurvy. 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 That is bleeding gums. Bleeding gums, joint pains, if the body is lacking vitamin C, or if the body is lacking vitamin, especially vitamin C, it can cause what we call COVID. That is joint pain, also bleeding gums like in your teeth, your gums. So it could cause bleeding gum. Okay, so vitamin is very, very important. Also, vitamin D, this is deficiency symptoms of vitamin C. Vitamin C. Okay, so for vitamin D, the deficiency symptoms can cause what we call rickets. Rickets. So I'm going to wipe off the board now so you can have space to write. So I hope you already have a grasp of what is there here. All right. Okay. So talking about, we are still on vitamin. We are still on vitamin. So I said vitamin C, the deficiency when vitamin C, when you are lacking vitamin C or vitamin C is very low in your body system, it could cause scurvy, like I said earlier. And scurvy is bleeding gum in your teeth, bleeding gum or joint pain. Joint pain. Okay. So if vitamin C is deficient in your food, it can cause COVID. All right. So if vitamin D is deficient in your food, it could cause what we call rickets. Rickets. And what is rickets? Rickets is, having weak bones when you are not strong. Having weak bones, weak, or let me say deformed bones in children. Deformed bones. Sometimes you see some babies, they will not be strong enough to, get up where they are supposed to. Their bones will be very weak. It could be crickets. So if the body is lacking vitamin D, it can cause rickets in children. It can cause rickets in children. Okay. So please take note of that. Vitamin C, vitamin D deficiency. All right. So we move to what we call minerals. We move to minerals. All right. So what is the function of mineral? Mineral is very essential for strong bones, blood formation, and nerve function. So it's very, very essential for strong bones. Strong bones. Okay. So if calcium is deficient, all right, in your food, calcium is one of the minerals. Okay. So if it is deficient, the child also might develop what we call rickets because the child will not be strong enough. The bones are not strong enough. All right. So the bones are not strong enough. They are weak. So minerals is very, very essential in our food, in our meal. All right, so the next one is water. Water is life. All right, water is life. So if water is not in the right proportion in your food, it could cause indigestion. It could cause constipation. So water is very, very essential. Even temperature. Water helps to regulate your body temperature. All right. So you notice that when you're feeling heat or um you are feeling heat, you see sweat coming out. Don't forget, if you don't have enough water in your body, there is nothing that will regulate the temperature for sweat to come out of your skin. So water is very, very essential for temperature regulation. All right, so if water is deficient in your meal, it could cause kidney problem. Could cause kidney problem if water is deficient in your food. Water deficiency, it could cause kidney problem. Don't forget, it is the kidney that remove the largest amount of water in your body. So the kidney, your urine stores in the kidney. So if the kidney does not have enough water to store, gradually the kidney, it's it gets walled out. So water is very, very essential for the body, for the kidney to be at for the kidney to be in the right state, all right, for your body system to be in the right state. If you don't have water, you feel dehydrated. So lack of water causes dehydration, causes kidney problem, and a lot of things in the body system. So water is very, very essential for your body. All right, so I believe you all understand what we mean by the classes of food in general. So if you have any question, please throw up your question using the chat box. All right, so we move to what we call balanced diet. We have talked about all this food, talked about carbohydrates, protein, fat and oil, vitamin, minerals, water. So we move to what we call balanced diet. So I want to wipe off the bread now. All right. Okay, so what do we mean by balanced diet? What is balanced diet? What comes to your mind when we talk or when you hear the word balanced diet? Balanced diet. Balanced diet. From the word balance. When something is balanced, it means it is balanced. All right. When something is balanced, it means that thing is in the right proportion, is in the right state, is in the right amount. Okay, so that's what we call balanced diet. So when you take the right proportion of meal, the right proportion of the classes of food, that is what we call balanced diet. So what is balanced diet? A balanced diet contains the right proportions of all the classes of food. All right, so balanced diet contains all the balanced diet contains or the contains the right proportion. It has to be right, not just all the classes of food. It has to be in the right proportion. All right, so contains the right proportion of all the classes of food. I believe you can mention the classes of food, just like I explained earlier. Okay, so the balanced diet contains the right proportion of all the classes of food. All right, so and it is very necessary for good health. It is very essential for good health, for normal growth. Balanced diet is very essential. Okay, so when we talk about balanced diet, let's say you eat rice. So if you eat rice, of course, you need to balance it up. You cannot just take only rice and call it balanced diet. Rice is a carbohydrate, so you need to add protein, vitamins. You need to add all the classes of food. So if you are eating rice, you can add or support it with, let's say, could be egg, could be chicken. All these are proteins. Chicken, fish, meat. All right, so it could be stew. You can add stew to the rice. Just make sure, of course, your stew, you are making it with oil. So it has to be in the right proportion. So you cannot just take only, you cannot take, let's say you take semo, no fish, no chicken, no protein. That is not balanced enough. All right, so you need to take something, the classes of food, try to take it in the right proportion. That is what we call balanced diet. So the food, the meal, the diet has to be in the right proportion of all the classes of food. Okay, so it helps the body to grow well. It helps your body to be in good health, to be in good state. Okay, so that is for balanced diet. So we are going to food test. So all these classes of food, there is a way we can test. There's a way we can know if they are protein, if they are what we call it. Okay. For instance, you want to test for carbohydrates. You want to know if something is carbohydrates or if something is containing carbohydrates. Okay, so you can, there is a way you can test, and that is what we are going into now. So we want to see how we can test all the classes of food, different tests, different solutions we can use to test them and be sure that they are what we call them. All right, so we are going into food test now. So we are going into food test, and I hope you understand the classes of food already. You understand what we mean by balanced diets. I want to wipe off the board now. So I believe you understand what we call balanced diets, the classes of food. So we want to see how we can test all those classes of food, how we can know if they are really what we call them, if they are what we call them. Okay. So, food test, food test, food test. All right, please pay attention. Pay attention. I always say something that whatever we are taking you here is according to the syllabus. All right, so please pay attention. And we are going to be treating questions after the class on this topic. Okay, so food test. How can we test all these foods that we call, different names? How can we test them? So we are starting with carbohydrates. We are starting with carbohydrates. So what can we use? What are the things? What can we see that will make us that will convince us that something is a carbohydrate? So I am going to be sharing some tests to us. I'm going to be presenting them for us to see how we can test all the classes of food. All right, so I'll be starting with carbohydrates. I hope you can see what is on the board. All right, so this is how to test for carbohydrates. This is how to test for carbohydrates. You have test for carbohydrates. So you want to test for carbohydrates, you can make use of iodine, can make use of iodine solution. So that's why we call it iodine test. Iodine test. So that's why we call it iodine test. So we can test our um carbohydrates using iodine test. All right. So looking at this um picture here, you have potato. We are familiar with potato. We are familiar with this thing that is on the board, potato. All right, it looks so fine and it looks like what you know, normal sweet potato. All right, so if you peel your potato and you add iodine solution to it, if you peel it, you can see what is written there. Iodine test is used to detect starch from a sample. So if you are being asked to, probably what do we use to test starch? How do we test starch? So you want to test starch, you can make use of iodine solution. And how do you do that? You can see this potato on the board. It is peeled and it is cut into two. So iodine solution is then applied on it, as you can see on the board. So when you apply your iodine solution, if it turns blue-black, as you can see on the bird, if it turns blue-black, then it means the food has starch. It means the food is starchy. All right, so that is the test for carbohydrate. You can test carbohydrates using iodine solution. The question can come in any way, in any form. Yours is to understand the concept. Yours is to understand the topic. All right, so you can be able to tackle the question any way, any form it's coming to you. All right, so this is iodine test. If you put iodine test or you apply iodine test on any carbohydrate food, it turns blue black. So any food you apply iodine solution to and it gives you blue black, it means the food is starchy. It means the food is starchy. It means the food has starch. All right, so this is how to test for carbohydrates. If you can hear me and you understand and you're with me, this thumbs up is in chat box. I want to see your thumbs up. If you're with me, you are getting what I am explaining, please thumbs up. I'm waiting for your responses. If you can understand what is being explained, thumbs up is in the chat box. All right, thank you. So we move to test for protein. Thank you, Mercy. So we move to test for protein. We are through with the carbohydrate. Don't forget, you make use of iodine test, iodine solution to test for starch, to test for carbohydrate. So we are moving on to protein. I'm going to present for protein, how we can test for protein as well. How we can test for protein. I'm going to be presenting that as well. So number 2, we have protein. So don't forget we made use of iodine solution for this, okay, known as iodine test. So for protein, we are making use of what we call, so for protein, we are making use of well, I'm going to present another chart to you now so you can see by yourself. I'm going to present the chart to you. We are going to be using the rate test. The rate test. This is for protein. Okay. So I'm going to show you another chart now for you to see how we can test for protein. For you to see how we can test for protein. Okay. So I want you to pay total attention as I'll be presenting for protein. I'll be presenting that now. All right. So we have what we call the rate test. This is test for protein. This is to test protein. The rate test. Okay. So as you can see, test for protein. So we make use of the rate test for protein. And as you can see on the bird, what is Birret test? A Birret test is used to detect proteins as it can detect peptide bonds between amino acids, the structural unit of protein. Okay, don't forget protein contains amino acid. Okay, so a Birret test is used to detect proteins as it can detect peptide bonds between amino acids, the structural unit of protein. That is why we make use of Biret test. All right. So when you had the test, or when you had ethanol, there's something we call ethanol, or something we call ethanol, or it could be copper solution, could be copper, could be copper sulfate solution. That's what we call Biret. So when you had copper sulfate solution a to a food, and it gives you this, it gives you a lilac, or let me say purple color, purple or lilac, it means the food contains protein. It means the food is a proteinous food. It means the food is a proteinous food. Okay, so if you had few, let's say you had few sodium hydroxide, you had few sodium hydroxide solution to food, okay, then you had copper sulfate solution. You had copper sulfate solution. So if it gives you purple color or lilac, it means the food is a proteinous food. That's what we call Biret test. That is what we call Biret test. So it means the food is a proteinous food. Is a proteinous food. Okay, so we move to another food. We move to another classes of food. All right, we move to another class of food, which is non-reducing sugar. All right, so I hope you have grasped what is here. Okay, so we also want to look into how to test for non-reducing sugar. How to test for non-reducing sugar. How can we do that? Non-reducing sugar. How do we test for non-reducing sugar? So you can do this using what we call Benedict test. Benedict test. So I'm going to be presenting another chart to us now for us to see the Benedict test, how we can test for reducing sugar. How we can test for reducing sugar. Okay, so this is Benedict test. This is Benedict test. What do we use Benedict test for? Just like I said earlier, that the question can come in any form. So this is test for non-reducing sugar. So the question can come in any form. It could be asked, the non-reducing sugar can be tested using what solution? So it could come in any way. It could come in any form. All right. So this is the test for non-reducing sugar. And how do we do that? You had Benedict solution. There's something we call Benedict solution. So you had Benedict solution to the food sample. So as you can see this. Okay. So this is where you have your solution. All right, about 2 centimeter cubic, 2 centimeter cube of test solution. All right, e.g. glucose. Okay, so add an equal amount of Benedict solution, as you can see here, then heat in water bath. So this requires heat. This is where the heat occurs. Okay, so when you heat it and it gives you brick red, it means the sample has a non-reducing sugar. it means the sample has a non-reducing sugar. What do we mean by non-reducing sugar? It could be glucose. All right, glucose is an example of non-reducing sugar. So if you had a Benedict solution of the same amount of glucose and you add it together, all right, then you heat it up in a test tube and you heat it up just as you can see in this bowl. So if it turns brick red, it means the solution has it means the sample is a non-reducing sugar. It means the sample is the non-reducing sugar. All right, so we also have test for fat and oil. How can we test for fat and oil? I'm also going to be presenting another chart. Okay, I'm also going to be presenting another chart for you to see test for fat and oil. Okay, so we have test for fat and oil here, as you can see on the board. How can we test for fat and oil? What are the things that we need to add? How do we, what do we add to the sample? Test for fat and oil. Okay, so here you need ethanol. You need ethanol. Okay, so you crush the food sample and put it in a dry test tube. As you can see, the test tube here. This is the test tube. As you can see, test tube. Okay, so add ethanol to about 2 centimeter cube above the level of the sample and shake thoroughly. So allow the solid to settle about 3 minutes to allow the fat to be extracted. Okay, so the ethanol, you don't forget you are adding the ethanol and the sample together in a test tube. Then you shake it well. All right, so after shaking it well, you will see something like this. As you can see, this whitish, you can see this white emulsion form. White emulsion form. So this is what we call emulsion test. Emulsion test. This is what we call emulsion. So emulsion test is used for fat and oil. Emulsion test is used for fat and oil. Please take note. Emulsion test is used for fat and oil. All right, so you can see the white emulsion coming out, as you can see here. So this is what we call emulsion, white emulsion form. So this test is called the emulsion test. It is used for fat and oil. We also have another test for fat and oil, which is called translucent test. Translucent test. So translucent test and emulsion test are both used for fat and oil. Please take note of that. They are both used for fat and oil, to test fat and oil. So I'm going to present a translucent test also, so you can have the idea of how it looks. Okay, so this is translucent test. This is also used for fat and oil, to test fat and oil. Okay, so as you can see, translucent. You can see this is paper. This is filter paper. This is filter paper. Okay, so if you rub your food sample on a piece of filter paper, this is filter paper. This white thing here is filter paper, and this thing here is your sample. So if you rub the sample on the filter paper and you hold the paper against the light, you hold it from the one translucent, for those that did physics. Okay, so from the one translucent, you hold it against light. So what comes out, you see your paper forming, looking so greasy. All right, so I want to show you how it is going to look like. So if you see something like that, you already know that that sample is fat and oil. All right, so you can see this is your this is what you have. You can see the oil. You can see the oil. So if you feel oil, you see oil on that filter paper, you already know that it is your fat and oil sample. Okay, so it is fat and oil sample. As you can see, this is for water drop, this is oil drop. So when you rub the sample on the filter paper and you feel the oil, just as you can see in this picture, it means that the sample is a fat. It means the sample is fat. So that is how to test for fat. So don't forget, you have your translucent test, you have translucent test, and you have emulsion test for fat and oil. Okay, so you have these two tests for your fat and oil. So like I said earlier, the question can come in any way. Yours is just to understand the topic and know how you can tackle the question. So these two tests, they are both used for fat and oil. In case you see one of them in the option, you already know that, oh, this is for fat and oil. Okay, so we have talked about how to test for carbohydrates, which is the use of iodine. We have talked about how to test for protein, which is your burette. Okay, so we talked about how to test for fat and oil, which is translucent test. You can also make use of emulsion test. We also talked about how to test for your non-reducing sugar, just like I showed you in the picture. Your non-reducing sugar, for instance, your glucose is one of the examples of non-reducing sugar, and we made use of Benedict solution. Okay, so if you have any question, you can send using the chat box. You can make use of the chat box if you have any questions, so we answer them together. All right, so we have some questions under the topic. I'm going to be sending the questions one after the other, so you can see and have idea of how the questions come. Okay, so like I said earlier, if you have any question, please drop you can drop inside this chat box. Okay, so we have some questions here. We have some questions here. Okay, so this is 2018. This is 2018. So I'm going to be sending it to the force to see. Okay. So this is 2018 past question. And I would like you to send the answer to the using the chat box so we can do it together. All right. So I want to wipe off the bird now so we can have space to paste that question. So number one says, which of the following essential substance is obtained in vegetable? Which of the following essential substance is obtained in vegetable? Don't forget, we have talked about different classes of food today. We talked about carbohydrates. I gave you examples. We talked about proteins. We talked about fat and oil, minerals, vitamins, and water. All right. So, looking at this question, which of the following essential substance is obtained in vegetable as a meal, as a class of food, or one of the examples of classes of food, according to what we have discussed today? So A, chlorophyll, B, glucose, C, mineral salt, and D, carbon dioxide. So if you know the answer, please use the chat box and to attempt the question. Okay, so A, chlorophyll, B, glucose, C, mineral salt, and D, carbon dioxide. Chlorophyll, of course, chlorophyll is not one of the classes of food. Okay, glucose is a sugar, and mineral salt is one of the classes of food. And I gave you different examples. Your carbon dioxide, no, you breathe out carbon dioxide, so it's not one of the classes of food. So which means your answer is what? Your answer is C. Your answer is C. Okay, so vegetable, you can get mineral salt from vegetables. All right, you can get mineral salt from vegetables. So I'm going to be sending another question. I hope you are with me. If you understand this topic and you are learning, please thumbs up. If you understand this topic well, thank you, Mercy. Okay, so we move to another question. This question is 20. So I'm going to wipe off the birds now. I hope you have grasped what is there in. All right. So the second question goes thus. Second question is this. The second question says, the second question says, good quality food will perform the following functions in human except good quality food. Don't forget we have talked about balanced diets. And I said balanced diets, contains all the right proportions of the classes of food. So not just the classes of food, but then it has to be in the right proportion. All right. So good quality food will perform the following functions in human, except A, supplying energy, B, providing resistance against malaria, C, maintaining health, and D, sustaining growth. Don't forget, except when you see a question, you need to understand it well before you pick your answer. Except means the one that is not there. The one that is not there. The one that is not included. Okay. So that is the meaning of except. So A, supplying energy. B, providing resistance against malaria. C, maintaining health. And D, sustaining growth. I need an answer at the chat box. According to what we have discussed today. Thank you, goodness. I love that. Okay. Can I get more responses? Okay. So the answer is okay. Let's pick it from the first option, supplying energy. Yeah, if you eat good food, good quality food, of course you will have energy for your day-to-day activities. You'll be fine. Your body will be okay. So it is there. Supplying energy is one of the functions. Okay. So B, providing resistance against malaria. Are you saying if I eat well, I will not have malaria? So this question, thank you, Mercy. I love that. I love that response. So thank you for your responses. Yes, the answer is B. I love your responses. So the answer is B. Bravo. So providing resistance against malaria is out of it. So no matter how you feed well, if you don't resist yourself from mosquitoes, you don't make use of mosquito nets, you don't, take good care of your environment, and Anopheles mosquito should feed on your body, you have malaria. No matter how good food you feed, no matter how you feed on balanced diet. So except means the one that is not there, which means providing resistance against malaria is not one of the functions of good quality food. So if you don't want to have malaria, you need to actually take good care of yourself and your environment. So it has nothing to do with with the food that you feed on. All right. So thank you very much for those responses. Um, um, I love that. Okay, so we move to the third question. Which happens to be the last question for today. And this is 2024 question. This is 2024 question. This question is a little bit tricky, but if you look at the question very well, you will actually be able to pick the right answer. Okay, so this last question seems tricky, but you just need to be calm before you pick your answer. Okay, so I want to wipe off this bird now. Don't forget we said the answer is B. The answer for this is B. All right, so I'm going to wipe it off now. Hope you have grasped that. Okay, so we move to the last question. The last question for today. The last question for today. Okay, so like I said earlier, the question looks tricky, but if you calm yourself down, you'll be able to solve it. Okay, something's happening. All right, so we have 2024 question. 2024 question, and I want you to look at the question carefully. Be calm before you pick your answer. All right. So the question says the richest source of vitamin A. The richest source of vitamin A are A. Palm oil and groundnut oil. B. Palm oil and carrots. C. Rice and groundnut oil. And D. Oranges and carrots. Is I'm going to read the question again. I'm going to go by the question again. Like I said earlier, you have to look at the question very well before you pick your answer if you don't want to be confused. All right, we have talked about different examples of carbohydrates, different examples of protein, different examples of fat and oil, for minerals, for vitamins, and for water. Okay, so looking at the different examples that we give today. All right, so what would be your answer? The richest source of vitamin A are A. Palm oil and groundnut oil. So I need answers. I need responses. Just like you answered number 2 question. So I want you to attempt this question too. Okay, I want you to attempt this question too. All right. I need more responses. I need more responses before we call it a day. I need more responses. Okay, so the question says the richest source of vitamin A are palm oil and groundnut oil. We gave examples of fat and oil. So palm oil and groundnut oil, they are more of fat and oil. All right. So the two, they are more of the same family, fat and oil. All right. Looking at option B, palm oil. Right. Okay. Don't forget that there are some food that has a combination of classes of food. Not just they are not having just one class of food. They have combinations of classes of food. All right. So like palm oil. Palm oil is not just fat and oil. It has vitamins. Yes. Okay. So looking at B, palm oil and carrots. I could remember I cited an example. I cited carrots as an example of vitamins. All right. So we have palm oil and carrots for option B. And C, we have rice and groundnut oil. Rice is carbohydrate. Groundnut oil is still it has vitamins, yes, but more of fat and oil. And D, oranges and carrots. Oranges has vitamin C. Yeah, vitamin C. We are talking about vitamin A, not just vitamin. All right, and carrots. So looking at these options, because of our time, the answer is palm oil and carrots. All right, so you can get more of vitamin A from these two combinations. So I hope you are really learned, you are really gained today. And I would like you to also, check some other questions. You can go through our app, look for past questions. We have numerous past questions on the app. So you can go there, look for questions on this topic, questions under this topic, so you can have the idea of how questions come, how tricky their questions may be, and then for you to have more understanding about this topic. So thank you for joining today's class. Like I always say, it is not advisable that you miss any of these classes because you may not be able to meet up if you miss a class. So always try as much as possible to attend all the classes for all the subjects. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful night's rest. Bye.